The time has arrived. I finally gathered all the parts for my cousin's PC build, and this is what we got. So these are the parts that I picked out for him. The budget for this PC was around $2,000 Canadian. It's going to be a full-on gaming computer. We're also going to be putting it in a small ITX form factor with the NZXT H210. So it's going to be relatively easy to carry around and move it if need be. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look and see what I chose. Alright, first up we got the Asus ROG Strix B450i Gaming. This is one of the higher end B450 models, and it should be really good for overclocking. It also has some RGB lighting, which is going to look really nice in the case. So yeah, that's the board. Moving on, we got the Western Digital Blue. This is an M.2 NVMe drive, 1 terabyte worth, so really good stuff. And then I also got an additional SSD. It's most likely going to be a placeholder because it's only 120 gig. So this is probably going to be upgraded later down the road. But yeah, I am going to be throwing it on. And this was honestly on sale for under $20, so you can't really go wrong. Next up, the memory. This is the Kingston HyperX Fury. It's the RGB module, so definitely going to look really nice. This one's running at 3200 megahertz and it has a CL16 timing. Should be more than enough, really good for a Ryzen based computer. And the power supply, this is the EVGA 500BQ. All I really wanted was the cheapest power supply I could find that's semi-modular. And this one's 80 plus bronze as well, so really good pick here. And the star of the show, in my opinion, this is the I almost said 2080. This is the RTX 2060 Super Founders Edition, straight from Nvidia. So this is going to be a really great card. I also plan on overclocking it a little bit, so I'm really looking forward to installing this. Next up, we got the Ryzen 5 3600 CPU. I'm sure most of you know it. It's really great option for gaming in general, and honestly, it's a great price to performance CPU. So yeah, Ryzen 5 CPU, great stuff. To cool the Ryzen 5, we have the Corsair H100X, which might be a little bit overkill, but I do plan on overclocking the CPU as well. And this is a great liquid cooler, and I think it's going to look great in this case, so really looking forward to that as well. Now, you can't have a gaming computer without RGB, so I'm hooking them up with these 2 Deepcool units. This is a 3-pack of 120mm fans, and this is going to be synced with a motherboard, so you can actually control it with the motherboard app, which Asus uses Aura Sync, so should be good. And also the addressable RGB strips. I'm curious to see how I'm going to mount this on the case, but should look really cool. I also got some extension cables for this build. Now I was going to do a matte black, so everything fully black, but because the RTX 2060 has some green accents, I figured I'd throw in some black and green cables just for a little bit of contrast, and I think it'll look really nice. And coincidentally, this was actually on sale on Amazon for like around 20 bucks, so you can't really go wrong with that. As you probably already saw, this is the case. It's the NZXT H210. Really nice looking case, and it's going to be a very good performer cooling wise, so really excited to put everything together in this. Yeah. Now I also picked up something that's a little out of the ordinary. As you may know, this case does have a Type-C port on the front panel connectors. And because of B450 boards, I don't think any of them have a Type-C header. I was looking for the longest time and I could not find a mini ITX B450 board with a Type-C header. So I searched far and beyond on the interwebs and I found what might be a solution to that. So this is a PCI to M.2 adapter. So this is what it looks like. So it goes from PCI to M.2. Now you might be wondering, what the heck are you gonna use that for? And I'll show you right now. The second part to this piece is this little thing. It's a PCI card, and what it does is it converts PCI to a Type-C header. They call this a Type-E adapter. Now I have no idea if this is gonna work. I'm just experimenting with it. You can actually get a M.2 directly to a Type-E header. However, it was like $110 for that. So this costed under $40, but it did take over a month and a half to come in. So if you do planning on doing something, I did buy it from AliExpress, by the way. I'd definitely give it some time or pay for the express shipping at this point. Although, hold up, just see if it works first, and then you can go based off that. All right, so now the fun begins. I've got all the parts laid out here. I'm just gonna play some music and start putting this thing together. Okay, so everything so far is looking pretty good. I got the lights installed. I ended up going for the bottom and top. And I also got the RGB fan installed and the IO shield. Now I'm going to be putting the motherboard in. Before I do that, I just want to install this little weird contraption here and see if I'm able to squeeze that in there as well. But before doing so, I'm also going to run some cables underneath the motherboard because the motherboard comes to right about here. And there's just enough space to kind of squeeze in a couple cables. And I think it'll look a lot nicer than I'm actually having it come through here because there's going to be a big gap. So it'll look a lot nicer if it just comes in underneath the motherboard. But yeah, I'll test that out to see how it goes. But first, let's get this thing going. Alright guys, so this is what I have so far. As you can see, the motherboard's in place, and let me tell you, that was definitely a hard one. Installing the motherboard with all the cables behind it is a little difficult. You have to kind of move it around as you're screwing it in. But I managed to do it, and it looks very sleek so far, so I'm really happy with it. I also got the fan installed here, as I mentioned, and the LED strips are good to go. Now I'm going to be doing the water cooler and the 2 memory sticks, and I'll show you guys on the back here. So this is the back. It's a mess right now, but as you can see, I got that little adapter installed here, so excited to test that out. I believe it takes power from the 4-pin here, and that connects to Sata, so that should be the way it's powered. And yeah, it's pretty messy, but I'll get to it eventually, and so far so good, so let's move on. Alright, so most of the components are installed at this point, and everything's looking good so far. Now what I'm going to do is I just plugged in the power supply, and I also plugged in most of the cables. But before I install the power supply and start doing all the crazy cable management and stuff, I just want to make sure it turns on. So I have all the RGB LED strips and everything. So I'm just going to plug it in, turn it on, and hopefully it boots up. So let's try it. Also, just in case anyone is wondering, this is the controller for the RGB LED strips. Now this actually came with the fans, but it does have up to 5 inputs here. So I plugged in the RGB strip. I put the bottom one first, and then the second one is the 2 liquid cooling fans. And then I got the top strip and the fan on the back, so it should be in order. So yeah, just in case you guys are wondering, this is what I'm using for the RGB strip. And then at the end, it connects to, over here, it connects straight to the top of the motherboard, which is the 5-volt connector. But yeah, let's see if it works. Alright, so the graphics card is installed, and tell me that does not look amazing. Pretty much finished. I just gotta tie a couple cables on the back. These are the cables that are left. Just gotta tie those up, and I'm gonna close it up and check it out when it's all finished. Alright guys, there you have it. That was the $2,000 gaming PC build. I was just here testing out some Doom and everything's running perfectly smooth. So I'm super happy with it. Everything came together pretty nice. The PCI expansion card for the Type-C header, I had to kind of find a spot to put it because it's a little awkward to kind of install in the case. So my recommendation is if you're buying that, get the M.2 riser, get the longest one you can, because that way you can actually maneuver it around and find a spot for it to go. Unfortunately, in that case, it's kind of 50-50 because I'm getting power through it. So when I plug in my phone, it actually has fast charging, so I'm able to charge my phone perfectly fine. However, I'm getting no data out of it. So whenever I plug in like a flash drive, or even if I want to transfer files from my phone, it just does not recognize anything. So I'm getting power from it, but no data. So I'm gonna look into it a little bit further. I think it might be a driver problem, but I did install all the chipset drivers and everything like that. Although I'm gonna do some more testing and update you guys if I do figure out what it is. Other than that, everything else came out perfectly. If you'd like, stay tuned for part 2 where I'm gonna be benchmarking the machine, also doing a little bit of overclocking and stuff like that. But thank you so much guys for checking it out. I really hope you liked it. If you want, leave a like or comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.